Good morning, Gelser area directors and friends. We are so excited to be coming at you on this Tuesday morning. Today is Tuesday, September 19th, 2017, and we are in our third week of our series on preparing people for leadership, and we are so excited. Now, you may be wondering why you have me this morning and not Heidi. Well, she is actually on a plane right now. She is headed to Texas. She's doing a Texas tour. She's off to Austin today to work with one of her personal team members, Amanda, and then she goes to I believe she goes to see Susan tomorrow, Susan Riordan, and Megan Cruz the next day. And then, of course, it is the Texas retreat in Galveston with National Sales Director Jeannie Tamburillo in her area. So we are so excited for all of our Texas girls to be hanging out with Heidi this week. So I know you'll take care of her, and it's going to be great. So I can't wait to hear how that retreat goes and how your week is. So in the meantime, though, you got me, and I'm so excited because I get to give you a recognition for the week. So thank you so much to all of the sales directors who turned in their weekly recognition. You guys know that there's the link. I send it out every Monday to our Gelser area group, and then also it is on the director portion of our website, HeidiGelser.com. On the director section, there is the button to submit your weekly activity. So real quick, I'm going to go through this. So congratulations to everybody who turned in their numbers, and here we go. Those of you that held parties last week, 2 or more, we're so excited. Trisha Bless held 2. Becky Clements, you held 3 parties. Congratulations. Personal faces seen in the week. We've got Kate Unger saw 5 faces, Nikki Hill 6, Trisha Bless and Karis Borman both had 7 faces personally last week, and Becky Clements is our Queen Supreme with 11 personal faces last week. Congratulations. New bookings, and I know a lot of this, this is so fun because I see your pace setters numbers on Mondays when I do that, and now today I get to see your just regular numbers, which obviously a lot of them are the same, so I'm so excited for you. So new bookings over 5. Jamie Lopez has 6 new bookings, Tammy Clout has 10, Trisha Bless has 11, Nikki Hill and Karis Borman both have 12 new bookings that they booked in the past week. Congratulations, you guys. And I know so many consultants are going to have so many bookings after last night's pace setters. Huge shout out to our trainers. We had Kate Unger, Susan Riordan, Nikki Hill, Tammy Clout, and Megan Cruz. You guys did an amazing job last night on our pace setters training. You talked all about the skincare party, and I know everybody is so excited to go out and use that flip chart and hold their full circle parties. So thank you so much for taking the time to put in all of the work on the front end to get that training put together, and then of course deliver it so beautifully last night. We so appreciate you. Congratulations to our Gelser directors who sold product last week. Kate Unger, 300, Brandy Lampman, 312, Tammy Clout, 401, Becky Clements, 465, Trisha Bless, 569, and Queen of Sales for the week is Nikki Hill with 653 in retail sales. Congratulations, everybody. Personal career chats, we have Karis Borman, Kate Unger, and Becky Clements with 3 personal career chats each, and Trisha Bless held 10 personal career chats in the last week. Congratulations, Trisha. Unit faces, if you were there for a unit event and supported your girls that way, we've got recognition for you. So Tammy Clout, 3 unit faces, Jamie Lopez, 4, Nikki Hill, 4, Kate Unger, 5, Karis Borman, 7, and Trisha Bless, 8 unit faces in the last week. Congratulations. We know that through those unit faces, your unit interviews come, and then of course your new unit members. So congratulations to you. Unit interviews, Kate had 3, Karis had 3, Trisha had 11, and Nikki had 12. And as a result of those new unit members, we've got Nikki and Trisha each had 2 new unit members in the last week. So congratulations, everybody. Then, of course, our last piece of weekly recognition is the parties that you have scheduled for this upcoming week, so the next 7 days. Congratulations to Jamie Lopez and Becky Clements. They both have 4 parties on their books for this week. Tammy Clout has 5, Trisha Bless has 7, and Karis Borman has 9 parties on her books this week. We are so excited for you. Congratulations, everybody, for turning in your numbers first, and then second, for having such great numbers. We're so excited. So quickly, I want to recognize our area units production in so far. So with over 2,000 in for the month, we've got Jamie Riley, Jamie Lopez, Kate Unger, Over 3,000 in, we've got Karis Borman, Crystal Pounds. Over 4,000, she's actually at 4,800, Becky Clements, congratulations. Mary McIntosh, 5,700 in the computer right now. Trisha Bless, 5,800. Tammy Clout has over 6,800 in. And Nikki Hill has over 10,000 in wholesale production for the month. Congratulations. I know a lot of you had people running for stars and just the momentum happening with the Christmas product coming out. That's awesome. So we're so excited. The month is only half over. So congratulations to you. And then, of course, our new agreements in the computer so far. Amanda Wellborn unit, you have 1 new agreement in. Mary McIntosh, 2. Nikki Hill, 2. And Trisha Bless, 4 new agreements. Now remember, when you complete your unit development bonus with 4 or more qualified unit members, you get the bangle. And I don't have it to show you. I bet Heidi's wearing it. You get the September bangle from Heidi, and then the director with the most new qualified, over 4, or if there's a tie, it's broken by the amount of production that comes in with those new, you get a one-on-one coaching call with National Sales Director Tammy Craig. Oh my gosh, you guys, get excited. Earn that call. Becky Clements, I know, has earned the calls. She loved them. Seriously, you don't want to miss out. So get on that. You guys, I don't think I have any reminders for you today. Just keep being awesome. I want to introduce our guest speakers today, and I am so excited. I'm going to read her accolades, and then I'm going to just tell you what I love about her. So our guest today is Miss Marni Hendricks. She started her Mary Kay business in December 2005 as a full-time college student, and she was working 4 jobs. She was a huge tomboy. She never wore an ounce of makeup, and she knew nothing about building a business, but she was trainable, coachable, and willing to learn. Marni debuted as a sales director of the Mega Miracles unit June 2006, just 6 months after signing her beauty consultant agreement. The Megas didn't stop there. They became a Pink Cadillac unit of excellence just 9 months later. Marni recalls that being one of the most memorable seasons of her life. She had just graduated from college and picked up her first Pink Cadillac 2 days before her wedding. Oh my gosh, Marni, I remember those Facebook pictures. That was so fun. Marni and the Megas have achieved the triple star status 8 times. You guys, I don't know if she's wearing her necklace today. I didn't look at her neck, but holy cow, she's got a lot of diamonds there for triple star. Her highest unit club was this past year, where they completed the $650,000 Circle of Excellence. They just returned from their top director trip to Alaska, and they are going to share a little bit about that today. I'm so excited. She is married to her high school sweetheart, Brian. You'll get to meet him today, too. And together, they have 5 beautiful children. You guys, their kids are precious. McKenna, who just turned 5. Madeline, who is 4. Mia, who is 3. Molly is almost 2. And baby Brian is 8 months old. Her passion is to enrich lives through sharing Mary Kay products and passing on the opportunity. And I just want to tell you, that all is amazing, right? Her accolades are fantastic. She is a rock star in her Mary Kay business. But really what I love most about Miss Marni Hendricks, I have known her for years, and I just love her heart and her enthusiasm and her love for people. You guys, every time I get a message or a phone call from Marni, my heart just sings, because I love to hear her voice, and she has nothing but encouragement and love pouring out of her at all times. So Marni, you make us better. We are so blessed that we are in Wisconsin with you, a lot of us. Marni and her offspring, they actually come to our monthly sales director meetings, sales director red jacket meetings, and it has been so fun to watch that area just explode, and you just bring such an energy with you. So thank you for being such a woman of excellence, and for just saying yes anytime we ask you to jump on and train, or do a call for us, or anything and everything. We just love you, and we're so excited that we get to spend time with you this morning. So take it away.
Yay! Aw, thank you so much, Kim. And gals or girls, those are some amazing numbers. I want to celebrate all of you. Awesome job for leading by example. And so I have a guest with me today. This is my husband, Brian, and he's going to be joining in the fun today. So we just got back from Alaska, as many of you know. Brian, what'd you think of our first top director trip?
Yeah, it was amazing. I was actually just when I dropped the kids off for school today, and when I was dropping them off, I ran into another director's husband, and he asked me how it was, and I thought of it. I said, there's no way I could ever possibly personally facilitate a trip as well as Mary Kay can. And not just because of their ability to financially support such an amazing trip, not money aside, just their ability to plan every single detail and have it all just laid out for you is amazing. You know, they've got an entire department of people that work on this years in advance. So that commitment to the trip really showed through with just an excellent, amazing adventure.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And we never touched our luggage one time. The food.
The food was a problem. we both weighed ourselves when we got home, and we're only somewhere, between 10 and 12 pounds heavier. So
yeah. We came back with lots of new friends and some extra pounds too. That's okay though.
Yeah.
And Brian is such an outdoors kind of guy. And so for me, it was really cool to just watch him for literally a week straight. Like he would just be staring out into the wilderness. And I could tell that he was just enjoying every minute of that. So, and it was just so much fun to be in the space too of our corporate executives. And I think that was one of my biggest takeaways, you guys, from the trip, is just seeing firsthand how much our corporate staff values us. And do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, the corporate staff was great. I mean, we got the opportunity because we were first timers to go to a dinner for first timers, and we sat at a table with Nathan Moore, the president, and his wife Joy, and it was really fun to hear him talk about it and how much he really drives his team to set the sales force up for success. So from the top down, you can see that. And I would actually just say how great it was for me to be in the presence of all the other top directors, most of whom I had never met or even heard of. Not being in, fully entrenched in your world, I don't know who top directors are from other seminars and things like that. So it was amazing. And what I found is that, there's people of every shape and size earning top director trips. There's young people, there's old people, there's tall people, there's short people, there's literally every experience, every personality type, everything is represented there. So it goes to show that, one, there's not one way to do it. Lots of different directors do it lots of different ways. There's the Mary Kay way, but then everybody can put their personal flair on it. And then the other thing is just, it's attainable for anyone. I think about that, and that's the biggest thing I think I can bring back, or we can bring back now to the directors that we meet with and the directors on our team, is just that this is absolutely attainable for anybody, regardless of their experience or tenure in the business.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep. And it was so funny. So Brian is like totally not like a creepy kind of guy, but he would meet women
creepy, and
he would be like, "What? You're like 57? You look like you're 30."
Yeah.
And he would just like talk about how beautiful all of these women are that have been using Mary Kay products for like over 20 years. And we both came back just extra committed to skincare.
Yeah, I got sold on the skincare because I was just all these hot Mary Kay women. Some of them are like 20 and 30 years older than me. And, that's not something that men tend to prioritize, myself included. So now I'm, cleansing and moisturizing every night.
Yay!
So I'm on the skincare.
We have dates.
Not that I wasn't
Dates in the
before.
bathroom.
I mean, I used like the shaving cream before that.
Yeah.
Was it, so now I'm using everything.
The masks. We've been masking every night since we got back.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask Brian to do this training with me on developing leaders, because he has been such a close part of our business since day one. And I thought that he could bring just a whole different perspective to this topic of developing leaders, because he's watched me build leaders and not be successful in doing so. And just recently he's, you know, watched mind shifts happen in me and within both of us too, and how that has made such a difference in our world and has in turn impacted so many lives around us also. So before we kind of dig into that, what I was thinking, Brian, is would you kind of share about your recent career change?
Yeah, so August 18th was actually my last day of working outside of the home. So I spent 10 years working for a company that provides a variety of different services to businesses, from uniforms to facility services and things like that. So I had a career that I really enjoyed in sales, and I spent 5 years in operations with them, and then I spent the last 3 years in sales leadership. So I really enjoyed my career there. But earlier this year, probably in January, shortly after Brian was born, we had really gotten the vision to go one step further in sort of making Mary Kay a family business, and me coming home to take care of the kids and support Marni's business. So I've been gradually working towards that. We've been planning that over the last few months, and then August 18th was my last day working outside of our business. So it's been interesting. It's kind of like you go from being an expert in what you were doing, 10 years with the same company, to starting over again. So I'm learning, and I get thrust into all sorts of unique new experiences, like being on this call. It feels a little bit awkward because I wasn't invited to talk on the call. Marni was invited to talk on the call. And I think it's funny because, Heidi probably said, Marni, bring something to the call. And she decided to bring me. So, so stuff like that, little stuff like that is a little bit, new experiences. So it's been fun and it's been interesting, but hopefully as we work together, we can complement each other and continue to make our business better and better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the topic of our training, there's two different parts to it. So the first part is develop the leader within you. And then the second part is develop the leaders around you. So this stems from John Maxwell. He has two different books that if you have not read, I would so strongly encourage you to read. Develop the Leader Within You is the first one. And then there's a sequel called Develop the Leaders Around You. So we are going to take that theme and dig deeper into building leaders. So just a little bit of background about me and about us. So Kim read my accolades, but I moved up the sales director career path really, really, really quick. And so our first year as a unit, we did 300,000, and then we went up to 350, and then we went up to 400, and so on. And in my first few years as a sales director, also, I did offspring directors. And at one point I had 5 offspring sales directors, and shortly after we had 5, they all either stepped down or fell off. And so I became extremely discouraged in building leaders. And I almost went to my safe place and where I was comfortable. And I stayed there for years. And because the truth is I was hurt, and I never questioned whether or not Mary Kay was for me. I just was questioning what God's call was for me through the business. And so what is your safe place? And are you in a safe place right now with building leaders? So for me, my safe place was to be in maintenance mode and to focus on my own personal business, to focus on that triple star. And so I was building production, but I was not building leaders, and I was not building people. So, Brian, do you want to talk a little bit about the maintenance, addition, multiplication, and division thought process?
Yeah, we were just I guess, introduced to the terminology, I think it made sense, and we had thought about things in these terms, but we'd never, or I should say we thought about these things, but never in these terms until the trip we were just on. We had the opportunity to sit down with Sean Key a couple of times, and during one of our conversations, he had talked about our objective for the unit. And the first objective, particularly of me coming into the unit, it's going to be to maintain the unit performance. And in doing that successfully, then what we should be able to do is help to start to add into it. So I should be able to help add value and grow the unit's performance. And then once we're successful in that, once we can really start to develop people, then we can start to multiply the unit's performance, and again, the success starts to get magnified. And then ultimately the goal is to actually get beyond multiplication into division, and that is where you start to offspring additional units. And I know that's something Yvonne talked about in the conference call last week. I know she just kind of touched on it, but we had just heard that last week as well. So it's neat to hear the same themes resonate, from a couple different places.
Yes. So for years, I was in that maintenance mode of maintaining our unit, maintaining my personal business. And just in the last 18 months, we've moved into the addition and multiplication and also division. So today we have 4 offspring sales directors that are very strong and more up and coming. And so again, we just wanted to share how our mind has shifted, how our world has shifted, and then how the lives around us have shifted. So digging deeper into developing the leader within you. So before we can, think about developing the leaders around us, I believe it's first and foremost super important to look within and to look at our own personal development. So do you want to talk about the law of the lid?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what's really important with developing yourself, developing the leader within you, starts with self-awareness. And a big part of the reason why is because in John Maxwell's book, probably his best known book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, I think it's the first law. It's been a while since I've referenced it, but his first law is called the law of the lid. And this was a really instrumental concept for me as a leader in my business outside of Mary Kay, was the idea of the lid. So the law of the lid is that the success of the organization can never exceed the ability of the leader to lead. So in other words, if you are a 7 in your leadership effectiveness, the best your organization can ever be would be a 6 or a 7. So your ability to lead the organization is the lid that controls the success of the organization. So if your organization is a 6, as a leader, one way to increase the success of the organization is to increase your lid, increase your ability to lead. So if you're a 6 and you can get to, an 8 or a 9 as a leader, that creates room for your organization to grow. So that's why developing yourself as a leader is so important in developing the success of your organization. And I think it starts with self-awareness. And the key to self-awareness is to create the best possible version of yourself. So the purpose of this analysis, the purpose of creating self-awareness is to allow your own pursuit of really God's call for you, and to create the best possible version of yourself so that as a leader, you can help others create the best possible version of themselves. And the thing that I would emphasize about self-awareness is it needs to be strengths focused, because another big paradigm shift for me came from, the book Strengths Finder, or Strengths Finder 2.0, I think was the actual book that I had read. But the idea of that was that so much of personal development is focused on our weaknesses and trying to get better at our weaknesses. But if you focus all your energy on your weaknesses, you might be misplacing your energy. You might be putting your energy into a place that you're never going to be that effective. Whereas if you can be strengths focused, that empowers you to be the best possible leader that you can be, the best possible person that you can be. So it needs to be strengths focused. And I spent way too much time in my career trying to nitpick and improve everybody's little weakness, including my own. And that can be really self-deprecating, and that can be sort of a spiral that diminishes your confidence and diminishes your effectiveness as a leader. And so another takeaway from Sean Key's, or our conversation with Sean Key, was he asked the question, what is your superpower? And I really like that. That's a fun way to think about it. Thinking about it like, what is your superpower? What is it that you bring to your business better than anybody else? Or what is it that you bring to your business that absolutely maximizes your ability to lead, or your ability to change other people's lives within your business? So know what your superpower is, and then work on developing that. Because if you work on developing your strengths, you could get to a 10 in something, you know. So if your superpower is vision, if your superpower is being able to believe and see what people are capable of, then work to become a 10 in that. You know, if your weakness is organization, and if you're a 7 in belief and vision, but you're a 2 in organization, you spend all your time and energy trying to become a 4 in organization, that might be the best you can ever be. And you're, instead of really allowing yourself to fulfill what you could become, what you're built to be, by being strengths focused. So all that being said, on your journey of self-awareness, really focus on your strengths and focus on what you bring to it that nobody else does, so that you're really empowering yourself.
Yes. Yes. Woo! Love that. So Yvonne, now you guys, I was blown away by this. So she did that call last Tuesday when we were in Alaska. So I did not listen to that call. And I started preparing notes for this training. And I thought, you know what, I better listen to that call, because I don't want to talk about the same things that she talked about last week. And I was absolutely blown away by how the notes that I had prepared to share with you, it was almost a aha moment for me, were so aligned with what Yvonne shared. And so we just wanted to kind of dig deeper into that. So Yvonne talked about the qualities that we look for in our future sales directors. And so looking at those qualities and thinking about those, think about what of those qualities are you strong in? So before you even think about looking elsewhere to find out who your future directors are going to be, look within. So where is your confidence level on a scale of 1 to 10, or 1 to 10? And how can you build your confidence to a 7 or higher? So do you want to talk, Brian, a little bit about bringing some of those qualities that she talked about into an inner look within ourselves?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, some of the things that she talked about were, meeting with the husbands, giving people in your unit books, identifying areas of strength and weaknesses, examining the weekly plan sheet, all that stuff kind of going into somebody's DIQ journey. And I would just say, ask yourself those questions. How can I involve my husband more in the business? So, and for us, that's a good example, because I haven't always been super involved. For a long time, we were just both on our separate career paths, and Mary Kay was what Marni did, and I did something totally different. But gradually over the last few years, I've become more and more involved, and that was a really gradual process. And some of it just started with planning together, so that I knew what she was doing and knew what was going on. And of course, attending events. When I was going to seminar or going to success events, then I knew what was going on and was able to get excited about it. So that's a little piece for involvement there. For you, what would it look like for you to prioritize reading and personal development? I think that's really important in the self-awareness piece, is prioritizing yourself so that you can be the best leader that you can be. How you evaluate your strengths and weaknesses, we just talked about. the importance of self-awareness and especially strengths. So some of the tools that are available for evaluating that are going to be your DISC, know where you fall. And sometimes that, again, people can get really focused on, the negative pieces of that, like, I'm a D, that means I'm this, this, and this. And don't think about it that way. Think about it as your giftedness. What areas are you gifted in with the DISC? Because you have really specific gifts. I think about it like even on the top director trip, we were talking to somebody whose husband is a Division I college football referee, and he's in the NFL developmental league to be an NFL official, and she's like, oh, he is such a C. And I thought about it because people will oftentimes say that, oh, he's such a C, in a negative way, like, oh, he's critical and he's analytical. And I say that as a C, as an SC. So I say that from my own perspective, but he's using that in a field that it's absolutely a strength, right? So that's perfect for him. So DISC, great tool for that. Strengths Finder, we took that. That gives you a lot of information. So sometimes it can be overwhelming, the amount of information, but that's something you can take and get back to, or take and continue to come back to evaluate your own strengths. And then even like the worksheet that Yvonne talked about from the last call, where you're putting in pros, cons, and what you would do again and what you wouldn't do again from your skincare class. All those types of things are self-awareness tools for you to use. The weekly plan sheet's huge for us. Plan together and then posting it in the house is a great way to engage your family. So like we do that together. And that's something we've done before I was even involved in Mary Kay. That was just a good tool for us. So understanding your current goals, and then how you can work towards them, and then knowing how you can tighten up your money management, because if you don't know where your money's going, it's going to be hard for you to help lead others in that area. So in your business especially, tighten up your money management. And that doesn't mean like don't have expenses, just know what your expenses are and be very intentional about it. And then running mates, right? We are, I've heard it said that we're the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with, or the 5 people we surround ourselves with most. So know who your running mates are and make sure you've got good running mates selected. And those are takeaways from the call last week that we heard that we thought were great self-awareness tools and personal development tools.
Yes. And then lastly, I just want to add that Yvonne talked about looking for people that are coachable. And so I want to ask you, how coachable are you? And I'm very passionate about this because this was one tweak that I made this past year. I realized that I was not being stretched. And so I, every single month last year, I reached out to a national sales director or a top director that I knew could stretch my thinking. And I asked her questions on like how she thought and how failure has shaped her, and what books she read that I should read, who she knew that I would be blessed to know, and such. And after having multiple phone calls like this, I found myself just thinking differently, thinking deeper, and making choices that were more in line with the person that I wanted to become. So, and then, part of leading by example and developing the leader within us is really feeling out the pulse of our unit. So, I believe that as sales directors, obviously we should always be leading by example, book, sell, book, share. And the gals or girls, you are surely doing that. Oh my word. So, one thing that I've learned is that as soon as I feel the pulse of my unit go down, where there are not people playing ball with me, I know that the best thing that I can do is book 10 parties. And it's funny because through the years, I think Brian, whether you realize it or not, I think he's learned to feel the pulse of the unit, because he'll say to me, all right, when are you holding parties next week? Or when are you holding parties next month? So, but it is our job to develop and to build leaders. That's exactly what Mary Kay called us to do, is to pass it on. And so I think a big mind shift for us and a big part of where we are today is because we developed a vision. And the Lord really gave both of us a vision as individuals and as a couple and as a family. And so Brian is gonna talk a little bit more about creating vision.
So there was two really instrumental events, I would say, I would say two really instrumental events in us developing our vision and being more deliberate about it. Because at times I would say we've been aligned, but there was two experiences that I would say really helped shape our vision, at least help allow us to be intentional about it over this last year. And the first was in February. I went to a conference in February, and one of the speakers was a pastor from Sheboygan or Plymouth. For those of you that are familiar with Wisconsin, I know people are all over the place, but for those of you that are familiar, there's a pastor in that area that I was really excited to hear speak. And he gave a presentation on vision. And this was a presentation that impacted me that then I shared with Marni. And then like the next day, she's like, you need to share that with my directors. So it was really quickly impacted us and our leadership team, I would say, was this presentation from this pastor, Aaron Martell, on vision. And the first thing he shared was a proverb that I'm sure many of you have heard. And that proverb is, without vision, the people will perish. And I hadn't heard that, or at least if I had, it didn't stick out to me the way it does now. And he went on and on about this proverb because perish is kind of an unusual word. But if we think about what that word means, or if we think about how it can impact us, without vision, the people will perish. You can think of some more common words to replace that with, like vulnerable. So without vision, the people are vulnerable. Without vision, the people are unprotected. They're directionless. You know, those are powerful phrases that I think would speak to us a little bit more. And especially then once we start to think about it in our lives, because you could say, without vision, my blank will perish. So insert whatever part of your life that might be lacking vision. So without vision, my business will perish. Without vision, my marriage is vulnerable. Without vision, my life is directionless, right? So these are all ways that we can use that proverb to emphasize the importance of vision in our lives and in these different areas of our lives. So there's some obstacles, because vision is one of those things that sometimes people think they have it, or people want to have it and don't have it, or maybe it's something you haven't thought about at all. And if it is something that you feel like you're lacking, there's probably some obstacles that are getting in the way. So there's some things that we replace vision with. And one of them is just familiar things. And Aaron Martell, the pastor, used a couple of analogies. So he used the analogy of driving a car. So if Marni and I were going to get in a car and we were going to try and drive to, Madison, and we were going to go on this drive, and she was going to drive, but she was going to be blindfolded. Without vision, we're not going to get very far, right? So now if we use the analogy that we were going to work a little bit harder, she wasn't going to be blindfolded, but we were only going to use the rear view mirror. We might get a little bit further, right? If we're going in reverse and she's only using the rear view mirror, we might get a little bit further, but eventually we're going to get in some trouble. We're going to crash, right? Because her vision is limited to what's behind her. And that's like being stuck in the past or hanging on to the past. So sometimes we'll hang on to things in our lives as a replacement for vision, for having vision of what's moving forward. Sometimes we'll hang on to familiar things. And I think that's an obstacle that we had in our lives, where I had this safe career that I had built, and it was familiar and it was safe. And Marni talks about safety in her own business. And we were just hanging on to that because we knew what it felt like. We were comfortable with it, and it was familiar. So we hung on to that, and that safety, that familiarity became a replacement for our vision. And so that's an obstacle, and we need to think about it differently and release ourselves from that and be willing to go out beyond that familiarity to really think about what our bigger vision is. Another one that he talked about was going from problem to problem to problem. So again, using that analogy, if we were going to drive to Madison, this time we were going to drive the car the way we should. But every time there was a crack in the road or a pothole or something that needed attention, we personally stopped and got out and tried to fix it. We would never get there, right? We would never get there. And a lot of people live their lives that way. You start your day without any vision for it, and you just go from problem to problem to problem, addressing whatever concerns come up throughout the day. That's sort of like the email inbox syndrome, where you just sit and you spend all day just working on what's coming in. And that's not having vision, right? That's a replacement for vision. You're really busy, but you're not getting anywhere. So, and then finally, the third obstacle that he shared was outside voices. So that's like, to use the car analogy, we're in the car now, and we've got two people with us, right? We'll use Marni's parents as examples. So now Marni and I are in the car, and Marni's parents are with us. And if instead of having our vision for how we were going to get there, everybody had a different vision. So Marni's mom says we should get there by going this way. You know, she says we should get there going one direction. And then her dad says we should get there going another direction. And I say we should get there going another direction. Well, if Marni tries to listen to all these other voices about where she should go, she's really not going to get anywhere. And certainly she's not going to get where she should be going, because she's listening to other people's vision for her. So listening to the backside, that was the backseat driver. That's what Aaron called it, was the backseat driver. So you don't want to listen to the backseat driver. So that's another replacement for vision. And so coming out of that, that was in February, and he kind of blew my mind with that. And then the next big event that happened was then, I think in March, just a couple weeks later in March, we went and saw a speaker who's actually nationally known. He's a speaker and an author, and his name's Matthew Kelly. And Matthew Kelly shared some tools for developing clarity. And so I think about it like these events were placed in our path for a very specific reason, because the first presentation on vision really opened our eyes to it. And then Matthew Kelly's presentation a month later gave us tools for developing clarity and developing that vision for ourselves. So I'll share those from Matthew Kelly, what the tools for developing personal clarity are. And the first thing Matthew Kelly gave us was 4 questions. So the 4 questions are: who am I? What am I here for? What matters most? And what matters least? So 4 questions for personal clarity. Who am I? What am I here for? What matters most? And what matters least? And that last one I think is really, really important, because he went on to say, when we say yes to stuff we know is not for us, we say no to what God may have for us. So that's really important. And you need to know your vision. You need to have clarity about who you are, what you're here for, what matters most, and what doesn't matter, so that you can say yes to the things that do. So that I thought was really powerful, those 4 questions from Matthew Kelly's presentation. And then the next thing he gave us was a couple other tools or steps to developing clarity and vision. So the first thing he said was, give yourself time for silence. Give yourself time for silence, because in silence, we can start to hear the voice of God. We can start to hear what God's call is for us in our lives. And then he helped give us direction, not just go sit silently, because that can feel directionless. But sit silently and then know what the 3 ordinary voices of God are. So the 3 ordinary voices of God that he gave for us are, the first one is legitimate needs. So legitimate needs are clues for us to living a happy life. So there's a difference between needs and wants. We all know this, right? But understanding that if we pursue wants, we'll never get fulfilled. So he said, a great quote that I love from him was, you can't get enough of what you don't need. You can't get enough of what you don't need. It's insatiable. You'll always be pursuing wants. But if you look at what your legitimate needs are your clues to living a happy life. So first think about your legitimate needs are an ordinary voice of God in your life. And the second ordinary voice of God from Matthew Kelly are talents and abilities. And talents and abilities are really important. Again, it goes back to that question Sean Key asked us, what's your superpower? And I think that's a really good way to think about it. But our tendency when we think about our superpower or when we think of talents is to always think of unique talents. Okay, so unique talents are like Aaron Rodgers can throw a football, 80 yards downfield, perfect spiral, and hit a wide receiver, right? That's a unique talent. Not everybody can do that. A professional baseball pitcher who can throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, that's a unique talent. Not everybody can do that. But what's even sometimes more important are universal talents. So universal talents are talents that everybody has, but nobody thinks of them. So your ability to speak belief into somebody's life, your ability to make somebody feel special, your ability to make somebody feel valued or loved, that's an ability that everybody has. Everybody has the ability to appreciate someone. Everybody has the ability to make someone feel loved or appreciated or valued. Everybody has that ability. That's not unique. That's a universal talent. But if you put the two side by side and said, all right, the ability to throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball or the ability to make people feel valued and appreciated and loved, what's more important, right? Probably the universal talent. So when you think of talents and abilities, don't limit yourself to those unique talents. That superpower question, really important in your self-awareness, but also know you're full of universal talents that we all have, everybody has, but you got to focus on them. And then the last thing to think about when you're thinking of your vision, where you're called, the third ordinary voice of God is desires. So if you have a strong desire, and again, sitting in silence, reflecting on this, if you have a strong desire, God put that on your heart, right? So strong desires, God can put that on your heart. What has God put on your heart? And so give yourself time for silence, but know what you're looking for. And these three ordinary voices are great tools to evaluate what your vision is and have clarity around your purpose. And that will all help to, again, tying it all together, that's all to develop yourself so that you can, if you can develop the leader within you, then that'll allow you to help develop others around you. Mm-hmm. And then that's where you want to go from here.
Yes! Isn't he so deep? I love it. Okay, so we're going to get into developing the leaders around you. So first, I wanted to share some limiting beliefs that I had about building leaders, and again, some mind shifts that took place. So first one is, as I am building leaders, I want to duplicate myself. So that was the limiting belief I had. As I'm building leaders, I want to duplicate myself. The mind shift is, as I'm building leaders, I want to support them in being the best version of themselves. So we can really work hard to understand our up-and-coming leaders, and using the same tools that we use to understand ourselves, like the DISC and the Strengths Finder and the basic needs, and thinking about their superpowers. When we understand them, we will know how to speak their language. And so one thing that I've started doing is I've started taking notes on my conversations with our leaders. And a natural gift of mine is I can usually remember conversations and what we've talked about and, their takeaways and such. But what I've found is that by taking notes, I am literally writing down words that they are using. And so it's allowing me, as I'm circling back on past conversations, to speak their language. So anything you want to add about understanding using the DISC, Strengths Finder, basic needs?
No, that just,
superpower.
Again, it just goes into what we were talking about before. Having greater self-awareness and going on that journey yourself will better position you to help others in that journey, or help make you aware of other people's strengths and other people's abilities. Because again, the biggest mistake that we can make is trying to duplicate ourselves as leaders instead of allowing other people to be the best version of themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So another limiting belief was that I used to think that our consultants would earn my time because of what they are doing. Now my thought process is they earn my time because of who they are. So, and it's really important as we're affirming our leaders to affirm who they are and not affirm the achievement or not necessarily affirm what they've done. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
No, the only thing I would say about that, I think, is just that the really formative event in these mindset changes, especially that one, for Marni, I know came from Coach Excellence School, which is, from the DSWA. That's available to everybody. So when you're thinking about how you want to go on this journey for yourself, know the resource. I always try to cite the resources where these things came from so that people, because it's not our own. So we want to give credit to the people that developed it, but also so that you can use it to developing yourself and for your leaders, what the source was. So I know for that mindset change really came through that Coach Excellence School, and a formative thing for us, for Marni especially.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. So next, I will tell them exactly how they get from A to B. And the mind shift is taking along from that, is I will guide them by asking questions. And so our up and coming leaders, they most likely, you guys have the training. And so we want to distinguish when it's a training opportunity and when it is a coaching opportunity. So I have found myself, if I am going to give somebody an idea or give them, some next steps to work on, I ask for permission. So I will say something like, would it be okay with you if I shared some observations with you? Or would it be okay with you if I shared some ideas that have worked for me in the past when I have been in your situation? So I really, really, really am careful about giving our up and coming leaders my opinions as to what steps they need to take next. So a past limiting belief was that they will depend on me for their next best step. A mind shift, they're spiritually grounded and confident in who they are. And so obviously I want our leaders to feel like they can come to me for love and support and mentorship, but their call through Mary Kay is between them and God. And so I want them to lean on Him for in guiding them on where they're called through the business. So a past limiting belief, everyone wants directorship for the same reasons that I do. Mind shift is to find out what their emotional why is and to really be creative in creating special moments for them around that emotional why. And so, for example, one of our up and coming leaders right now, her husband works on the oil pipeline. And so they don't get to see each other very often. He comes home a couple times a year for no longer than a week at a time. And so if they want to see each other, she needs to go stay with him. And so her emotional why is to bring her husband home and to be able to make extra money and financially provide for her family so that her husband does not have to be awake or away all the time. So I will send her postcards and I'll draw a house with her family and her husband home. And I'll say, bring Tyson home. So find out what that emotional why is and really be creative in creating special moments for them around their emotional why.
You should talk about the pink Cadillac too.
The pink
wheels.
The Power Wheels. Yeah,
that was a great event.
Yeah. So when Catherine Longley, our offspring, when she earned her first pink Cadillac, we had so much fun with this. So we bought a Power Wheel, a pink Cadillac, a pink Escalade Power Wheel for her little boys. And we put the Mary Kay decals on it. And Brian made, so Catherine's license plate says Dream Big. And we made a special license plate. It says Dream Big too. Inside of it, it says this Cadillac was exclusively built for the Longley children. And so we just really made it a fun family win. And so have fun in celebrating your consultants' wins, to find creative ways once they do accomplish their victories to celebrate with them. Yeah, it's been really fun to watch the Longley boys play with their pink Cadillac Power Wheel. So as you are working with your consultants and learning about what their emotional why is, you can ask questions like, what makes this significant to you? And if they say, you know, the extra money, so how would those extra resources add value to your life? And who would be impacted by those extra resources? How would it feel to see those people impacted by those extra resources? And then again, take notes on these conversations so that you can use these power words in future conversations with your leaders. So just some last tips that we wanted to share as far as developing the leaders around you goes, it's smart to move a couple up at a time. So for multiple reasons. So when we're moving multiple leaders up the career path at the same time, it creates a lot of momentum. It also creates a super friendly competition. And so what our vision is as we are working on building our next six first line offspring, is that we are going to be working with these 6 first lines, but then we're also going to be working with and supporting them and finding their first lines. So we'll be almost moving 2 of them up at one time, if that makes sense. So that was actually a tip given to us by Sean Key. So thank you, Sean Key, for that. So another thing we've just recently done is we've created a Facebook group for, it's just an exclusively elite Facebook group for a select group of women. And so to be in the Facebook group, they have to do, during the month, a $600 wholesale order, 4 sharing appointments, and they have to turn in their weekly accomplishment sheet each week on time, and they're able to stay in the group. So how we introduced it is we allowed anybody, we just said we're creating this super fun leadership Facebook group. So anyone that has the desire to be in leadership is welcome to be in the group for the first time or for the first month. And then each of us sales directors, we do a different training. So every day of the week, they get a Facebook Live training, leadership training from either me or one of our offspring directors. And so that has created esprit de corps within all of our directors, all of their up and coming leaders. So they're working hard every month to stay a part of that Facebook group. And a lot of times I will share, I don't know if you guys have heard of this. I know all of you have heard of John Maxwell, but there's this book called The Maxwell Daily Reader. And 365 days a year, there is just a quick leadership thought. And so a lot of days on this leadership Facebook group, I will type this leadership thought out and post that. Another cool thing is there's a Jesus Calling book that has the same idea. So 365 just short, quick thoughts to stretch us spiritually also. So find creative ways like that to, to pour into your up and coming leaders. So last week, Yvonne talked about, really taking our up and coming leaders in our side pocket and our back pocket and watching them do a facial, watching them do a party, a sharing appointment, a debut party, an inventory discussion. And that's something that I feel super strong about also. And I take the same exact process with our up and coming leaders. And so a lot of times I'll do like a 2-2-2 approach. And so if I really want to dig deep into making sure that they are really strong in a specific skill, I will have them watch me 2 different times. So whether it's a party or a sharing appointment or an inventory discussion, I'll have them watch me 2 different times. And then we'll take 2 times where we do it together. And then I will observe them 2 different times. So other tips, you guys, is I really encourage our up and coming leaders to develop a relationship with Mary Kay Corporate. And so if they have the desire to be in DIQ, I make sure that they have the 1-800 number for the DIQ department. I make sure they know where to find the advanced brochure on Mary Kay in Touch under resources, and where to find their career car reports. And instead of, giving them the answers for things, I try to equip them, and so they know where they can find their own answers. So for example, if they are calling me about a number on a report, I will show them how to read the report, or I will direct them to Mary Kay, the career car services or the DIQ department. So I really try to equip them so that they are taking control of their own success and relying on themselves. And then lastly is just really encouraging them to focus on the process. So years ago, when I was building Offspring, it was like, all right, just do what you got to do to finish. And now we are really focused on finding 24 women that want a business. And so personal use is no such thing in our vocabulary. And so 24 women that want a business. So what last thoughts do you have?
Actually, so I saw something on Facebook last night. I was putting the kids to bed, and I was scrolling the Facebook news feed, and I found something that I just thought really related to the message of helping people, helping you develop the best version of yourself as a leader, and then helping others really develop the best version of themselves as leaders. And it's a quote from Martin Luther King, and it says, "And when you discover what you will be in your life, set out to do it as if God Almighty called you at this particular moment in history to do it. Don't just set out to do a good job. Set out to do such a good job that the living, the dead, and the unborn couldn't do it any better. If it falls your lot to be a street sweeper, then sweep streets like Michelangelo painted pictures. Sweep streets like Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets like Leonette, I don't even know that name. Sweep streets like Price sings before the Metropolitan Opera. Sweep streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry. Sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will have to pause and say, here lived a great street sweeper who swept his job well. If you can't be a pine at the top of a hill, be a shrub in the valley. Be the best little shrub on the side of the hill. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be a sun, be a star. For it isn't by size that you will win or fail. Be best of whatever you are." So I thought that really related well, and I wanted to share that.
Yes. Love that. All right, you guys. So the Bible verse that represents our mission through the business is Matthew 5:16. Let your light shine. Let your light shine before others that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. So you are all gifted. You're all talented and you're all worthy. So go let your light shine. We believe in you. Love you guys. Thank you so much, Kim. And thank you, Heidi.
Wow. You guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh my gracious. You blew my mind this morning. I have pages and pages and pages of notes, and I know everybody watching this hangout has the same. There's like not even words. There's just so much that you just packed into that. And you guys, let me tell you, you are such a power-packed team. I'm so happy, Brian, that you are home in the Mary Kay office supporting the Hendricks unit and area and sales directors. Oh my gosh, what a gift that is. So thank you both. thank you so much for taking your time, your energy, really for doing your homework, for watching listening to last week's call, to really being prepared. Oh my goodness. I'm circling everything. I would just repeat everything you just said because it was all so great. But one of the biggest things that I personally took away was, Brian, when you were talking about vision and what is your replacement for vision, that was mind blowing to me. So, is it hanging on to the past? Is it going back to what's comfortable? What are you replacing your vision with because it is easier or whatnot? So, wow. Oh my gracious. So I am going to invite all of our friends viewing this hangout. If you have aha moments, affirmations, anything you would like to share with Marni and Brian, you can go ahead and send me a Voxer and I will just forward it right on to them, or email us, or tag them on Facebook, whatever you need to do. But I know so many people were so touched by this hangout this morning. So I just really want to thank you both for being amazing lights in our Mary Kay world and in the world, just in our world. So thank you for everything you do for us and for pouring your heart and soul into us this morning. We so appreciate it.
Oh, you are so welcome.
I love you guys.
Love you.
Okay, gals or girls, have a great day. Make it a great week. And we will be back next Tuesday with our final installment of Preparing People for Leadership. Amazing. So have a great day, everybody. Bye.